Welcome to Buddhist Daily. This is our Buddhist question series. I'm Tal, your host, and here to answer our questions is Lama Dawa. Hi, Lama Dawa.
Hi, Tal, and hi, everybody.
So today I want to ask you a deeper question. Um, can you tell us about what Buddhism says about the afterlife?
Difficult question.
We don't have to get into the weeds, but maybe some overall or more general understanding of what they may or may think Buddhism says about that.
Well, as usual, we run up into the limitations of human language. And even the term afterlife has many different meanings and connotations. What Buddhism does address is the mind, and we could say consciousness, and the idea that we identify with the self, and everything in our, let's put the afterlife aside for a moment, because it's a direct extension of this life. This life is conditioned by everything we identify with that becomes familiar. Obviously, we are born and we essentially know very little. We're sort of a blank slate. And then we learn to identify with our parents and our family of origin and the language that we are taught, and then the culture and country that we're brought up in, and then the TV shows that we watch, and the different influences that affect us. So this is what we call our life, and it becomes very familiar and second nature. We identify with everything in our life, and then around that we develop our own sense of oneself with particular likes, dislikes, opinions, attachments. And then we have, further beyond that, we have pride, we have envy or jealousy, we have impatience, we have all these things that go on. And then we develop this life, right? This experience. And that's our life from birth to death. Then we die. What happens? What happens to all those things we identified with that were so important to us? Basically, they drop away. If consciousness continues, which is what Buddhism tells us, that the body is not the mind is not the body. The mind, perhaps temporarily, while we're alive, resides in this form, but at death, the body ceases to be alive. The mind, or we could say raw experience, somehow continues. There are habits that we've generated in our mind during our life that continue, ways that we respond to things. There are certain kinds of things, but we lose this identity of a self with certain kinds of characteristics as a male or a female, as an American or some other nationality. These are things we identify with. The real question is that who we really are? Or is this a temporary kind of delusion? And when we pass away, when we die, when our body dies, it's taught, to answer your question now, it's analogous to a person dreaming and sleeping and then dreaming. And in that dream, we identify with what's going on, and it's taken to be very real. The fear that comes up or whatever experience in the dream, we take that to be very, very real. When we die, it may be like waking up from the dream. Now, who is waking up and what are we identifying with? These are the deeper questions. And this is why we meditate, because in a lifetime of meditation, we can start to understand or gain some kind of perspective on this relationship of what we think of and what we identify as the self. And we can start to see that maybe that's not exactly how it is. So when we die, it's a very personal and individual experience, but this idea, this identification with who we think we are does get severed. It drops away. And it's replaced by some perhaps raw experience that's colored by the experience of our life, the habits that we've created. So this is what's taught, and it's a continuation of this journey of life. Death is an extension or a continuation in a slightly different way. Just like dreaming is an extension of our waking life, but it's a very different experience. So this idea of an afterlife, in Tibetan, we use the word bardo. It means an in-between state, in between this one life ending and taking rebirth. That consciousness will, this is what's taught traditionally, particularly in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, that at some point after death, the habit of consciousness is that it identifies with a physical form and will enter a womb, a fertilized egg, and will go through the gestation period and then be reborn with no remembrance of the previous life. And this is the cycle that continues on and on as long as we are confused or deluded, or we could just simply say not enlightened, not freed. So that's maybe an introductory kind of answer to a very deep and complex question.
Thank you. I remember reading the 4 contemplations that you shared with me from the Buddha, and the second one is on impermanence and death. And at the end of that statement, he says something to the effect of, when dead, only Dharma will be of benefit. And that struck me. And can you give me a little bit of an understanding of that?
Sure. So when we do die, what do we carry with us, so to speak? As I mentioned previously, what carries with us are the habits of our former life, of the life that we just are exiting from. There's some kind of momentum, you could say, of consciousness. So when we say only Dharma is of benefit, what do we mean by Dharma? Dharma means the positive habits that we create in our lifetime. And that's what's of benefit. If we have a clean conscience, if we have confidence, if we have a sense of our goodness, that's what will benefit us in this in-between state that I just mentioned, the bardo, this in-between dying and being reborn. So we're not just randomly victimized by a cold, indifferent universe. We have agency.
It can feel that way sometimes, right? Is that what it is?
Yes, it certainly can. But we have agency. We have a say in the matter. We're not helpless victims. And it's very important. So we practice while we're alive to create good habits and a wholesome sense of goodness. That's what we take with us. So that's what we mean by only Dharma. When we die, only Dharma will be of benefit. It means the car we left behind won't be of any benefit. The house we left behind won't be of any benefit. Our relationships, even with our husband or wife, won't be of any benefit. but how we trained our mind, that will be of benefit.
And that's why meditation practice is so prominent within Buddhism, is because the training of the mind.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
Well, thank you for that explanation, Lama Dawa. Thank you, Lama Dawa.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you for watching Buddhist Daily. Please check out our other related videos at youtube.com/@Buddhist Daily. Please submit your questions in the comments section below, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone, and thank you.
Please like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends and family. See you next time.